G'day my suckies, it's Jesse Q7 here. Hope you guys are having a fabulous day so far today. And today, today's the day for singers and guitarists. So shout out to all them singers and guitarists out there who just want to play a bit of music and have a bit of a fun time. Today I'm urging you to go support your singer slash guitarist friend if you've got one, or just to be playing in front of your other friends if you are a singer or guitarist. Maybe play on a Discord server if you can't meet up with your friends. Just do something with singing and guitar. Yeah, it's a good day today for that. So the story I'm going to talk about today is a fairly legendary one. This dips into the depths of impossibility, but it did happen. It winds back all the way back to when I first started working my first job, and this job didn't really count as much of a job for a while, but it was a job, and it got me money. So technically, it was a job, but it was more pocket money originally. So briefly touching on it, I worked as a farmer's hand for a while. So what a farmer hand does is just helps out wherever a farmer needs a help. And this was no regular farmer. He was more of a hobbyist farmer. So he opened up a bunch of little small projects with touching into growing apples, for instance, making wine, just a bunch of random things. He had sheep, he had like a few cows, but he didn't have a large amount. He was only working on small scale on his property. So for my time when I was working with him, the one thing that he always had that I remember was having sheep. And the first set of sheep I remember, they were real timid little fellas, not willing to go do anything, but they were starting to be trained. And the way they were trained is what we used to do was we got a white bucket and we filled it full of like feed, like rolled oats and other little goat slash animal nibbles, so they could fill their bellies up. And this was just to get them used to like a little bit of feed. And once they got recognized the little white bucket that we filled it in, we could guide them to go to wherever we wanted them to go. And this started off with one sheep who was smarter than the rest. He also stood out from the rest, so he was a special sheep. This one was trained first, and he was, as I said, a special sheep, but he was special in a very weird way. So from the get-go, this sheep was not timid. He was willing to walk up to people, but he did look like the rest of the sheep, so no one could really tell what kind of sheep he was. He was just a sheepy sheep at the start. But hidden behind all of that sheepy sheepness was a personality, an actual full-on personality. And this sheep was such a good sheep that he did amazing things. So being first and willing to eat the feed, he stuck out from the rest, and that was really good because he could do things that other sheep couldn't, and you always just had to stick the white bucket out. He'd be there first, and he'd guide the rest of the sheep as the leader towards anywhere. So they'd all follow him like sheep, if you get it. And he also had like one physical feature that also stuck out from the rest of these sheep. So there were maybe like 30 sheep at the time. He had a white dot on his forehead. And this white dot was really good because when it came to all these sheep, moving on to their next stage in life in sheepyhood, uh, if you can guess where that is, where you have a guess where your nice food on your plate comes from. Yeah, so that's where all the sheepy sheep went, except for this sheep. Because of his dot on his head and his willingness to lead, we kept him around. So Mr. Sheepy Sheep now got his own name, which was given by the owner's son, and he called him Alpha Sheep. So he was a real Chad of a sheep. He was top notch, and he was the alpha of the sheep. So all the sheepy sheep, the rest of the ones that followed the sheep, followed Alpha Sheep, they all moved on in their lives for their final stage of their life. And we came in with new sheep. So Alpha Sheep looked a little bit older, but he still looked similar to the rest of the sheep. Luckily, he still had that big black dot on his head, so we could tell which one he was apart. And through generation to generation, each year we got new sheep, and Alpha Sheep got older and older. But he was always the best kind of sheep. He always stuck out as the leader. and he got rivaled a few times with other sheep, but they were never as close as they could get into. Like they could never be alpha sheep because he just made such a name for himself. And over time, if you keep on feeding a sheep and he keeps on becoming like friendly with you, we ended up giving him pats and stuff. So you could get real close to him, give him a big back massage, and he'd just enjoy it. He'd love a good pat, and all the other sheep will always get scared off, and you could always trust that if you needing a friend you can pat, you can just go pat Mr. Alpha Sheep because he's willing to give up a bit of his day for a good old pat. The greatest thing about Alpha Sheep though was he could always be used for like little kids because he was a little friendly sheep who'd walk up to you. He got a bit fat over time, but that's fine because that's what you get. Like if you're always being fed and being led, and so all these kids could come up to him and pat him while like looking at all the other sheep, and so they could get like an idea what like what a sheep's like. I mean, you know, all the rest are all scared, and then you're like, okay, so this one's been trained, this one's been fed. You can give him a pat, and so everyone always liked giving Alpha Sheep a good old pat. Now, the saddest part of his life was one time we didn't have like a generation of sheep for like 3 or 4 months, or maybe a bit longer even, and so poor Alpha Sheep, he was alone. Um, so what happened was he started moving towards all the cows and stuff, and he started picking up the nature of the cows too. So you know how they go and have their little fights occasionally, just pushing up heads as like young cows do. He'd join in and he'd beat them occasionally, especially when they're in their younger age. And he used to hang out with them. And it was really weird because the next generation of sheep came around, and he wasn't really willing to be around them. But the thing is, he knew what his job was in that area. So when you brought out the white bucket, he'd go in front of the other sheep and he'd help you guide them into where you needed to go. Even so much as if you were using a quad bike, he'd be on the other side of the sheep, herding them into like fields and stuff. It was a bit of a strange thing. He became like a sheepdog, a cow sheepdog thing, a cow sheepdog. Weird thing, but it was what it was. But I honestly, everyone started loving this sheep like it was like a dog. It was a good old pet, and you could always trust Alpha Sheep to help you whenever you needed. Like I remember one year my grandma came over, and she was busy watching us like guide the sheep in, and she saw it from a distance, and she was like, "Oh, it must be Justin running alongside, helping him," because Alpha Sheep was a big sheep at this point. And she obviously didn't have the best eyesight, but she looked again, and she's like, oh wait, that's a sheep. As he guided these sheep into the field, just on the side, just, like steering them in. And after that happened, I gave him a big old pat and said, "Bro, you're the chillest sheep ever." And then grabbed some leaves off like the local tree and fed it to him. So the moral of this story is, you can get these nice, cute sheep out there, and only one sheep is the best, and the only best sheep is Alpha Sheep, and he'll forever live on. He might not live on, but his legend always will. Many of my family and many of our friends always talk about Alpha Sheep, just in one way or another, just like a brief mentioning of our old house and our old property and my old job, and just talk about what we used to do, and Alpha Sheep will always be like the top thing to remember. I don't know where Alpha Sheep is now because he moved on from the property we were on. So he could be anywhere, but I'm fairly sure he got sold to the neighbor who also had like a lot of similar types of sheep, but no sheep that was special and no sheep that meant so much in our hearts as Alpha Sheep, the one and only legendary sheep. Anyway, cheers to you, my suckies, for watching this video. I'm coming close to 100 subscribers now, and I'm just like, wow, geez, I never thought this would happen. Like, honestly, I thought I would just be like that one side channel that people looked at and like scoffed at and be like, huh, he only has 10 subscribers. He does not mean anything. But now I'm really like, I'm not big, but damn, 100 subscribers. I never like thought that would happen. When I actually hit 100 subscribers, because I'm 2 off right now, I'm gonna release a 100 subscriber special and also that Discord channel. I'm really keen to talk to all of you suckies in the new Discord server, and We'll just see how everything goes. Anyway, thanks for watching again. I hope you have fabulous days, and let the legend of Alpha Sheep live on in your hearts like it did in this video and it did in real life. Long live Alpha Sheep. Catch you later.